don't go for solar. That's and within the university system. No, I must place the union in proper pathway for people to understand.
Hello and welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us. It's now 48 months since the All Progressives Congress took over power in Nigeria, with President Muhammadu Buhari becoming the first opposition candidate to defeat an incumbent in a presidential election. With a lot of goodwill and support across the country, the APC promised to bring total change to what governance used to be in Nigeria. Now, top on the APC election agenda was the fight against corruption. Then there was also the issue of security, revamping the economy, and of course, a final solution to Nigeria's perennial epileptic power problem. 2 years after, Nigerians are still divided on whether the promises made by the present administration have been met, while some argue or score the Buhari administration high in the fight against corruption following the huge cash recoveries made so far, as well as what the EFCC is doing. Others say lack of conviction for corruption cases has just made a mess of the corruption campaign, anti-corruption campaign, I should say. The Buhari government has undoubtedly made giant strides in recovering about 200 schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram in Chibok in 2014, while the insurgents have been tactically pushed out of the country by the Nigerian army. Well, maybe not completely pushed out, but then they've of course been pushed back. Then apart from that, we've had the birth of herdsmen who have suddenly become another internal terror operating in most states in the north of the country. And not just the north of the country, as a matter of fact, we've seen them kill people. I'm talking about herdsmen now, kill people in virtually every part of this country. It's still a major security challenge that the government seems to be struggling to deal with. Now, this development, of course, has actually divided opinion again on how effective this, especially the herdsmen crisis now, can be handled. Now, in terms of the economy, Nigeria slipped into recession in the last quarter of 2016. The economy, which was declared the biggest in Africa in 2014, suddenly contracted in September 2016 with the naira weakened against the dollar. Inflation, of course, reached an all-time high, and prices of foodstuff, goods and services suddenly hit the roof between October 2016 and April 2017. With the economy getting out of recession, that is gradually getting out of recession, analysts say the government has done well considering how bad the economy was managed by the last administration. Although majority of Nigerians still believe the Buhari government has done quite well in 48 months, but the administration weakness, well, to obey court orders has become its albatross. That's what some people say. And the continued detention of former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki, as well as the leader of the Shiite movement El Zakzaki, without being formally charged to court, has been heavily criticized by lawyers and Nigerians as bad example of democratic principles. Joining me now to discuss these issues further, I should say, I have Great Imo, who is a public affairs analyst, and I also have Olayinka Ola Daniels, who is a public affairs analyst as well as a lawyer. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Great Imo, let's start. I want us to start with the fight against corruption. Do you think that well, we've had some convictions, but the lack of high-profile convictions, do you think has derailed the government's fight against corruption?
Well, to an extent, that appears to be the case. But what we must understand is that this government, the route for which it should have taken to fight corruption is to first start by reforming the laws. And if I will, score Buhari low on some of the matters of governance, one of the areas he failed is in the area of politics. Whether in the National Assembly, in the judiciary, you needed partners who have the same focus, the same vision with you. Fundamental is that the laws are weak. And now, for example, in your narrative, you just talked about people saying that he's disobeying the law. All of this is in an effort to make sure that the fight against corruption holds. But the laws needed to have been reformed, needed to have been strengthened, to improve both consequences for corruption and also the speed of trial. I know for over going to a year now, there has been a bill within the National Assembly that is supposed to speed up the process of trial of corruption. But so many people, there are baggages. So they are seizing the opportunity of being in the National Assembly to trap that bill. And without that bill, without these fundamental reforms in law, it will be difficult to actually get these convictions. Because if you know, over the years, it has been difficult to achieve. So how would you want to achieve? Would you want to achieve it because your name is Buhari? Are you the judge sitting over there? And fundamentally, over the years, because the system had been debased, even some
and
of those...
unfortunately, some of the judges too. I mean, look at what has happened.
That is what I'm saying. Some of the judges were actually nominees of politicians because over a period of time, without mincing words, some of these who are both in the Supreme Court today, in the Appeal Court, in the High Court, were actually nominated by politicians, especially of the past regime. And to an extent, you need to cleanse that system before you can get it because they're in partnership. Imagine sitting with a judge or a man standing a trial with a judge, or you are standing a trial with a judge that you have given 10 million before, that you know how he was nominated, that your governor friend or your minister friend was the one who nominated him, that you know he has an account in London, whether through surrogate or anything, that he's giving you, is trying to charge you for corruption. It's simple test you send to him. And the man will not go to sleep. He will be tired of what to do about it. And sometimes all they do behind the scene, they come in partnership. They begin to look for loopholes to fund even the lawyers of the defendants.
Okay, I'm going to come
so many things are going on that is weakening the fight against corruption. But I still believe the great achievement is that we have now implemented TSA, BVM. Going forward, at least it will reduce, this corruption.
And Olayinka, we also cannot deny the fact that for a very long time, we never saw the EFCC, make the kind of recoveries it's made under this government. You talk about the huge cash hauls that the EFCC has been recovering, and of course, some of this cash have been forfeited to the federal government. But would it be fair to say that the fight against corruption lost steam, so to speak, because we've not had these high-profile convictions? Would it be fair to say that?
Well, in my own opinion, I'm not going to go that route. I won't say it's fair. But then, let us make some things clear. APC government were so good at opposition, to the extent that they forgot that, we are now in power. So there's a little bit of distractions. Now, number of things that are supposed to have been worked on even before the assumption of office were not done. Example of saying 8 months into your administration, coming up with all sort of appointments in 8 months. No, we saw what happened recently with the French side.
Yeah,
it was sworn into the next day. We saw appointment. Now, coming to that, because that has also what reflected on the issue of EFCC fighting. Yes, we have those people. We're talking, Mr. Great Imo talked about the laws, the bills at the National Assembly. Who is going to pass the bill? Over 30 people that are on trial are going to pass the same bill that they know will convict them. I don't see that happening.
So and in that case, what do you do?
Now, if the government is serious, because the truth is, even in the presidency, there are people. There are some personalities, there are some individuals, even in the presidency, that don't even want this to fly. So it's not about the senators alone, not about the National Assembly alone fighting and don't want to even pass the law. We saw what happened. The Babashilawal and the rest of them. We know there are some cabals also that are in charge, that are running things, the kitchen cabinet, so-called, that are running things. So the truth is, they're not going to see these. Let's put it. Let me ask, if they're giving President Buhari the full support required, Mr. DEJI will not be where we are today.
But do you think, because I still have to ask that question, that the lack of this high-profile conviction, so to speak, has sort of derailed the fight against corruption. And I ask this for some basic reasons. Because sometimes you get the feeling that even the judiciary itself, just like, as he said, that sometimes you need to play the politics of it, because it would appear that to some extent even the judiciary itself doesn't seem to be buying into the anti-corruption campaign in terms of getting trials speeded up, speedy trial and all of that, get cases dispensed with very fast, and but we're not having that at all. Is it we surely cannot blame the president that we're not having high-profile convictions, can we?
No, we can't.
We can't blame the president.
We can't blame the president because
one,
president is not the judges. 2, president is not the lawyer. 3, president is not the prosecution. Do you understand? Now they're going to bring charges, and you find out that you see some charges in the count charges being presented at the court against an individual, and by the time the lawyer comes with his own technicality, it will just come with 1 point, and the next thing it watered.
I'm just wondering how do we deal with this issue, especially with our judiciary, so that things can change. Okay, fine, we have a government that appears to some extent to be serious in the fight against corruption. We have a president, let me just put it that way, who appears to be serious. But you take cases to court. If those cases are not dispatched, promptly and all of that, cases spend too much time in court, and it was actually for that reason that at some point some people suggested the creation of special courts to try these corruption cases.
The creation of special courts, who are going to be there? We just witnessed what happened at the the tribunal, where Senate President, just when we saw what happened there, how the man was frustrated. Some issues were even raised against the chairman of the tribunal.
That's a code of conduct tribunal.
The code of conduct tribunal, yes. Even issues were raised against the chairman. What trial was going on? Why? Just to disqualify him from hearing this particular matter. And where are we on this particular case? You see, setting up a special court, seriously, is not enough. As far as I'm concerned, who are the people appointed? How are they being appointed? The same politicians that have their own personal police, that have their own personal lawyer, that have their own personal judges. These are the same people that are going to appoint those.
We surely cannot say because of that we should just fold our hands and do nothing.
No, we should not fold our hands and do nothing. I wrote an article titled "We Elected Buhari the Dictator." And I want to tell you that the fundamental reason for which Nigerians voted for President Muhammadu Buhari was not that he was an exceptional economist, was not that he was young, was not that he was whatever. It was because we saw him as a man who can hit like a flint and get the job done. But unfortunately, he's reversing the matter. He's bringing it back to us instead of we taking it to him. Now, the reason we voted you is we know you can deal with these things with a dispatch.
Could it be that when we were thinking along that line, we were not thinking the way democracy works? That the president does not have the powers.
Democracy is dynamic. It is unique to its own environment. Today, we keep talking about the Singapore model, the third world to first world. The magic happened through what they call benevolent dictatorship. The guy arrested over 148 leaders in a day.
That would be difficult in today's Nigeria.
There is nothing that would be difficult. Let me tell you in good conscience, my brother is a lawyer. When you are studying law, the number one thing they teach you, the first thing they teach you that there are two schools of thought. The moralists and the legalists. Every law emanates from the moral. What is good is good. The issue is that, are you doing the right thing?
I mean, because
let me tell you, for example,
we've seen serious criticism.
There will be. It will be difficult for you to want to govern a nation, a third world country like Nigeria, that you have to move forward. Within this level of democracy, you require some level of benevolent dictatorship to
because
get
before
this moving.
Some people like him now will be shouting, well,
it is expected.
You have to follow the
It is expected, but what is the greatest good for the greatest number of the people who should always be the case? And that is why I love this idea of the acting president coming on with what they call executive orders. We need need to expedite action. You are not going to listen to, you're not going to focus your attention on your opponent and your critics. You should focus your eyes on the vision. What do you want to get done? We want to eliminate corruption. We want to build the economy. We want to build infrastructure. We want to build a future for our children. And you can't have some criminals distorting you using whatever legal means. You should go to the legal documents and find your own means. You have to come up with the benevolent dictatorship to get this thing done, because that is what appears we need.
I'm going to come back to you, Great. Can we say that, you know, it is true that we want to fight corruption. We want the government to fight corruption. We want to get rid of corruption, but that the way democracy works, would not support the kind of fight we want, because we want a speedy fight with instantaneous results, but we're not going to get that.
Oh, okay. Before I come on that, let me quickly say this on EFCC fight. Don't forget that for the past 2 years, EFCC, they've prosecuted over 260 something thereabout cases completed, because people are only making noise about the high-profile cases. They are not
because I know there've been convictions, of course.
Yes,
that,
they've completed. Yes, so people should not get it twisted, thinking they are not working. They are working. It's about just these few high-profile that cases, people are making noise about. Now let's come back to the question you raised about. If you remind me, the question you raised.
I just asked. I said we want to fight corruption, and we want to fight it speedily. We want instantaneous results, but it doesn't work like that in democracy. Democracy does not support that kind of fight, so to speak, because for you to follow the rule of law, like people like you would always say, you know.
I will always say this. I think there's a lot we need to do as a nation. We need to come back to the drawing board. Is democracy working with us here as a nation? If something doesn't work for me, why do I want to bury my head in it?
Don't you think it's working?
Now, for me, like, you just said it. Because now, everybody, we are not patient when it comes to corruption. Whereas, oh, yes, hit him, stone him, cast him, yes, jail him. That is what we want. But don't forget, we have rule of law. We have processes that we must follow to get this. For instance, someone takes someone to court, and you get to court, the person cannot even know facts, whatever, to defend his case, and the law say, Mr. A, if Mr. A commit this offense, he goes to jail, and before Mr. A, you can say Mr. A goes to jail, there are 3 elements that must be completed, and you must be able to establish the 3 elements. Now you come to court, you can't establish even one of the elements, and you are telling me the person should go to jail. That is the law. There's nothing you can do about it. Because
the reason I'm asking this is, I mean, just take a look at some of the cases we've had. Let me just mention a case, the case of one of the Supreme Court, one of the I think a federal high court judge, okay. Yes, whose case was just dismissed. You understand, for what's the term now used by the judge who actually
they couldn't establish.
Is it nolle prosecute? I can't remember that now. I'm talking about the case of, yes, I'm talking about the case of Justice Ademola. And we can all see the frustration across the country, you know, over the way the case was just, even though of course the government has decided to file an appeal against, but the way the case was just dispensed with by the judiciary, a lot of people express frustration.
The judge is not going to help the lawyer to do his job. The judge is not going to help the prosecution to do his job. So if you have failed in your duty as a prosecutor to bring to the table facts that you can use to convict someone, and you don't have that, then the lawyer come and he capitalize on your failure.
But that is still the challenge we're talking about. If there has been any failure here, is failing to understand that in a democracy, playing politics is necessary, which is where Mr. President failed ammunition. He said, it didn't matter who I work with, I belong to everybody, I belong to nobody. So you have people who are not interested in pushing the fundamental instruments required for you to get this thing done. For example, I was on a TV program with a legislator who actually made me to understand that the law says that he who accuses must prove. I say yes. And then you're a legislator who knows that these have not worked over the years. society's dynamic is not started.
Why can't you tweak the law?
Why don't you tweak the law? It's only in Nigeria that a man whose annual salary is 74 million has 2 billion in account. He has 2 houses in Metama. His children live in London. He drives high-profile car. He goes everywhere. And you now have to be the one to help him prove how he made his money, instead of him being the one to prove to society how he made his money. So have you not turned the law upside down there? And with all this in your constitution, in your instrument of conscience, you have already messed up your society. Nobody should expect any good thing to come out of this high profile. It's only those who don't have the muscle, those who want to have this, like he mentioned, those 200 and something people who have their cases have come. If they had the muscle, they will go far. Look at the senior president who has had issues from a Fed Bank till this time to code of conduct with all the evidence, and somebody is still telling me that you can prosecute him. It's because he has the muscle. They can entangle each other because the law is actually turned upside down. And if you go by way of amending that law, you will get all these people taken care of. But this is the problem where we are now. It is survival of the fittest. It is the rich takes it all, and it has bred this desperation amongst young people. Just make money by all means. Get power by all means. And once you get it, nothing will happen to you. And I bet you nothing will happen. We have been hearing of Halliburton scandal for years.
For decades.
And nobody can do anything about it. Even to the extent that it's only in this country that even sometimes the president fears to push certain cases because he doesn't want to tumble his government. So, but we want a society that works. If we want a society that works, we must insist on justice. What is justice? What is right for all of us? But we are not pursuing that. And unfortunately, let me tell you, even with the way Mr. President is looking, the man is looking at like, man, I'm tired. And I remember a few months back, someone wrote a book which I reviewed. The title was too appropriate for what is happening in Nigeria. It said, The Challenges of Governing a People United by Corruption. People united by corruption, from judiciary to the police to the
executive,
members of the bar and bench. There is this affinity for corruption. Even in church, somebody pays tax. You know that you don't understand his means of source of income,
very
and you
correct.
collect
That title
you
is
don't
very
challenge
apt.
it. You don't challenge it, and you see today these criminal elements are occupying positions of authority in churches and so many places, and he rubs on them prayerfully, and everybody goes, oh, once you touch him, we start praying about it. And yet they are undermining the future of the children. 10.4 million children out of school, but some people have as much as 50 billion in their account. They have no factory, they have no farmland, they have no history of having done proper business in Nigeria, simply because they have access to government. And now we are languishing in poverty. The society is degraded. We have had stunted growth and development. The number of youths are multiplying. Imagine a country with close to 70 million youth unemployed. That is a disaster waiting to happen. And 10 million point something are out of school who are supposed to be in primary school, and we are laughing at it. We need to be desperate about this situation. Desperate situation demand desperate solution. When Singapore was in this condition, they went through desperate situation, benevolent dictatorship, and they arrested everybody that should be arrested, called down them, and when solution came, everybody felt it happened. Today, everybody is proud to read from third world to first world, thinking that it happened by chance. We need to deal with this fundamental problem.
Olayinka, what do you think needs to change going forward? Because something must change. You know, what, for instance, in the fight against corruption, what would you expect the government to change, for instance, in its approach, in the way it is going?
I'm going to pick one out of the things the government is supposed to put in place. We know about corruption, we know about economy, and we know security and all other things. Now, let's come back to corruption and economy. On power, the same set of people that are in generation, the GenSco, whatever they call them, the GenCos, the same set of people are the ones running the discourse. Tell me, if
are you sure?
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure maybe after the program I can give you facts on that. You find out that the same set of people are there. Now, if they are there, tell me how it's going to work. Even in the capitalist, you don't give everything to just one set. The same set of people are running. They will be sabotaged because everybody's going to be working to benefit himself or herself. Nobody is working for the nation. Nobody has the nation.
I'm just surprised you're saying this because, for instance, I will know that
the government,
the
Gencos
are complaining that the discos are owing them. And
on paper.
Well, so picnics are just owing themselves.
On paper. No, seriously, because until the government... Okay, look, for instance, this government came into power 2015, right?
Yeah.
Thereabout. And you discover that the same set of people that have been in the former government were there, close to 2 years before some of them were moved and changed.
And
they've
they're
been
still
doing
there.
the same thing. Some of them are still there.
And both the APC, sometimes I pity
that they
APC
don't even
members
have vision.
because PDP, they see inculturated civil service, inculturated judiciary, inculturated board of the authorities of board and parastatal DGs are running APC government. It's very, sometimes I pity them. Because even the blames we give to APC are the blames of those apart from former government.
I think you're very correct.
You understand me?
You still have...
you look at, for example, it should not take 2 years to militarize every household in Nigeria. Fundamentally. And if you require subjecting this discourse to that, or through law, through whatever, you should have done it. It requires executive order like Vice Acting President have just initiated. Let's use it. We just must make this society work. Why should we be looking at our victory and we are languishing in defeat? Why should we be looking at our glory and we are languishing in poverty and penury?
Well,
we should take the decision and break the bounds and get this country out of
very quickly, because we have to round up. I
Yeah.
still want us to talk about this corruption because I really want to get the approach now you will want the government to adopt going forward.
Yes, like I said, do your job. Look at every parastatus. They sift them. The one that needs to, the weeds that you need to remove. The one that needs to work. Let everybody know that you are here for the nation and not for personal interest. Let them work for the personal interest of the nation. Who are the sabotage? Let us deal with this. Let us remove all the truth is, Nigerians are wonderful people. They've been patient enough and they've been given. And one thing President Buhari has enjoyed so far is the goodwill of people. And I pray that it will not take them, I pray that Mr. President will not take Nigerians' goodwill for granted. Then tomorrow, everybody come out to say, and when Nigerian is pushed to wall, we know what happens. And we don't want that. We don't want to see that. He should capitalize on the goodwill of Nigerians. Do the necessary things, like I said. For instance, the Genco and the Disco. Why would they be the same people running things? There are several parastatals like that, and they are doing the same thing. That's the reason why we're not going to have light. We're just disturbing ourselves. Every day they will tell you there's 4,000 megawatts. Tomorrow they will tell you it's 500 megawatts because nothing is going to happen. The same thing applies to every other parastatus until when the government sits down, where legislation need to work, let them do their job. And not somebody going to the house and, blabbing and fighting over nothing on unnecessary things. If all hands can be on deck and we are ready to move forward, I am very, very sure that we'll get to the promised land. Without that, with all this propaganda, with all the noise and the paperwork, I was in Abuja last week. I know what I saw. I was opportune to be somewhere, and I know what I saw, and I'm like, is this happening in this country? Are these people really ready for us? Is something working at all? It's sad. I was in NIMSI, and I understand that even as level 10 was earning 85,000 naira, and I'm like, NIMSI level 10 earning 85,000 naira, then if you look at Federal Inland Revenue, probably their own level 10 is earning over 200 and something, and I'm like, in the same country, and the DG tried to even go to them to say, well, let's increase the salary of these people fighting for the welfare of the people. What is it asked to bring? Kickback of money that he has not gotten, and that is the national people providing the national ID card. No, okay. The national ID card. And today, that is the reason why you don't have your national ID card. You don't have it. It can't happen. Why? Because there's no money to fund it. And government is saying there's recession. They cannot even pay salary. They cannot even fund it. Who are the people in charge? Who are the people frustrating it?
I've written seven things to fighting corruption. Yeah. So I want to quickly run.
Very quickly, yeah.
Very quickly. Number one, if you want to fight corruption, number one, you must pay the workers well. Like this morning, I had the teacher salary.
I agree with you.
You need to increase salary. Number two, where before they remove subsidy, all manner of subsidies and waivers should be removed. Number 2, and number 3, we talked about the employing technology to fight corruption. Also means, for example, when he's talking about everybody in the same grade, it's technology you use, whatever software you use for accounting. Once you're working for federal government, you're working for federal government. But I want to consider certain aspects of the job like judges, police, teachers, army, and all that, Navy. They should be given special pay. And then we also talked about giving benefit. I've written about this as far as May 2016 before the whistleblower. Giving benefit for those who do well and also those who report corruption. And that is also ongoing right now. But the fundamental is where the information managers are not helping Buhari. It appears that his information managers are not doing too well. Imagine it took the acting president to come and begin to enlighten the civil servants about the executive order. That he should be concentrating on doing all that things, and people should be handling all of that.
Wow.
Information management under this government is poor. They are even allowing opposition to infiltrate them, give them job to do. They will be pursuing, trying to correct what opposition have posted before they go. They need to be well ahead of those. For example, there has to be strong orientation products that will consume Nigerians in understanding the implication of corruption, because some people are still supporting this corrupt element. That's why they still have backup. Before in Nigeria, if they say you are corrupt, you are ashamed. But today they say you are corrupt, your people will show up, because they've not understood, they've not made the connection between the unbuilt roads, the failed hospital projects, and all of those, and the rich man who is now the corrupt person they are trying, how it affects their future. Nigerians need to be well equipped, because it is, the Bible said that my people paid for lack of knowledge. When there's knowledge, Nigerians will be liberated.
No doubt at all. Politicians are taking advantage of politics to cover that shame you talked about.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why you would see where an individual, a high-profile politician, is accused of corruption. You have his people come and carry placards and say, it's a shame. But we also cannot deny the fact that the whistleblower policy that the government came up with has been, well, there might be issues with it, but at least it has yielded some results.
Mr. DG,
it has yielded
18,000 naira for somebody that works from
salary
Ikotun to Ikeja.
Salary
18,000 naira.
Salary,
and you are talking about
salary of our
corruption.
workers. You need to pay them well.
Just as I said, you need to.
Why should a policeman be earning maybe 30,000? Why a senator is going home with
you're absolutely. I mean, nobody's arguing about that. I'm just saying that the whistleblower policy too has been, and the hope is that the National Assembly, because let's not forget, it's still a policy. We're still waiting for the National Assembly.
Mr. President and his information managers to blow the whistle that Nigerians, why we cannot deal with this thing is that it appears that you are managing these characters in the Senate. Please tell your senators if you want Nigeria to be okay.
That bill has actually been in the information for quite a while.
If you pass the bill today and the law changes, you can scrape the matter.
I think the last time I checked, they told us it has passed the first reading or something.
I know it has been there. We need to push them to, to make it an act of parliament so that it becomes a law.
Bills in 30 minutes. Now, to pass one important bill for Nigeria, the reviews they are doing.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you very much for your contributions. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking about security. We'll be taking a closer look at, the way the government has handled security in the past 2 years, and I'll have a security analyst join us to give that analysis. Stay with us. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.